Hello everyone and welcome to yet another episode of Discovering Steven Universe. For some reason I feel like I might have said Doctor Who in the previous episode. If I did, I apologize, and I will probably point it out in the video while I'm editing. Of course, that already happened. Let's talk about this episode, which is Coach Steven. And let's get right into it with my favorite parts, because this one's a little bit more nuanced, I think, than the previous episodes that I've just immediately been like, they're so good! But let's get into it. My favorite part, starting with when Garnet and Amethyst start dancing to do their fusing. And, well, first of all, it's like, it's a pretty cool little scene. I enjoyed it. It was cool to see Garnet dancing, and then Amethyst was kind of... It wasn't as extreme as she was in the past, like with Pearl, but it's like, Amethyst, the way she danced was, it had been done, but seeing Garnet do it was rather enjoyable in my opinion. But the part that makes me like it the most is that while they're dancing, Pearl keeps trying to cover Steven's eyes. Because, I guess sort of taking on that very protective mother role of trying to shield his innocent eyes, even though they aren't doing anything explicitly sexual, unless there's something about gems I don't know, which could be, I don't know. But yeah, so that scene in particular I really did enjoy, just Garnet and Amethyst dancing and fusing. My second favorite part of this episode, which is going to be, this is definitely one of the more nuanced parts of the episode, but Sugilite, the character Sugilite herself. And first of all, when she's revealed, it's a very stark contrast to what we saw when Amethyst and Pearl fused, which was, Opal was a larger woman. She was, I think, about the same size as Garnet. But when Amethyst and Garnet combine, we're talking just gigantic. Like King Kong Godzilla size. And I don't know, I wasn't expecting that at all. Which was really cool. And then just the stark contrast of the personalities even. Just like the personality of Amethyst and Garnet combined together, making Sugilite, was just, again, leaps and bounds different from what we had with Opal, which was this very calm, collected, powerful woman. And Sugilite was just, I don't know if rage-filled is the right word, but just uncontrollable, and apparently easily bored, because she pointed out that she was bored after walking across the ocean. But yeah, so Sugilite was one of my favorite parts, but I'll be touching on that a little bit more coming up. My third favorite part of this episode had to be Pearl's song, which is Strong in the Real Way, and Coach Steven, taking the title into this. But when Steven starts taking Pearl's song and puts it into his coaching routine, which admittedly, makes him not really working out at the time while his dad and Sadie and Lars are. But still, it's like that was a wonderful little scene, and I don't know that the message that it's trying to put across is maybe too simple for some audiences to get, but I like to think that, in just that one song and what Steven was doing in motivating people, that especially younger kids watching this show can get an idea, and what happens later in the episode, can get an idea of what it means to, what real strength is. Which, some people think that real strength is just but, strong in the real way, so to speak, which I guess is open to interpretation, but whatever. Moving on from there, my fourth favorite part of this episode had to be Pearl versus Sugilite. Just the entire exchange was really interesting and, again, completely unexpected. Other than the fact that Amethyst and Pearl, butt heads a lot, like the fact that Sugilite was just so, like, she was basically ready to kill Pearl. She was ready to kill basically anyone that got in her way. So just the exchange there of Pearl getting knocked down hard, but then through Steven's motivation, she's able to find a way to use her brain, the strongest part of her, or the strongest part of her basically, since she isn't she doesn't have brute strength like Amethyst and Garnet do, is able to utilize that. And I really did enjoy that whole sequence. It wasn't so much a fight sequence as trying to outsmart the clearly more powerful character. But yeah, that just worked out so well, and I really did enjoy that, and I love the way they played it out, and the way that they portrayed Pearl's real strength. Again, it's like, kind of think of it as interpretation. You know, again, some people think that real strength is muscular, powerful strength, whereas especially for someone like Pearl, or someone that may not be physically very strong, their real strength is their mind, or their wits, or what have you. So yeah, I really like that. And then finally, my fifth and final favorite part of this episode has to be when Sugilite's weapon just goes pow right on the head, and then they separate. And it was, I saw it coming a mile away, but it didn't make it any less funny when it actually happened. And I just thought it was an excellent way, because really, for a character like Sugilite, how else are you going to get through to her unless you cause some major physical damage, which in this case happened to be her own weapon. Although, actually, that might actually bring up another question now that I think about it, but I'll try and remember that as I move along. Otherwise, maybe I'll put it down in the description if I don't remember it while I'm talking. But I actually do have one annoyance with this episode, and maybe it's just me misinterpreting or misunderstanding a character, but my annoyance is that Garnet's attitude about Sugilite, about needing to form Sugilite, is just, it seems to me like Garnet is usually the more methodical one. It's like, yes, there are times where she jumps into action, especially when it comes to saving Steven, but other than that, it always seems like she, while not necessarily a step ahead, it's like, you know, she has her wits about her. She knows what's going on. She knows to keep control of the situation. So, especially after we see what Sugilite can do and how she can get extremely out of control, and that's happened before, I just find it strange that Garnet's attitude about forming Sugilite is just so brazen, just so, but we need to be strong, so blah. It's like she doesn't even really give Pearl's idea a second thought. Which, again, the only reason that annoys me is because it just felt out of character for her. It didn't feel out of character for Amethyst, it didn't feel out of character for Pearl, what they were saying or doing. But Garnet in particular, it really did. Again, that's just my personal perspective. Let me know your thoughts about that, and of course, as always, your own favorites and possible annoyances about this episode down below. Moving on from there, there are two tracks of the episode, one which should be very obvious, and the second one I picked mostly because I thought it was kind of a cop-out using one of these tracks. The first of which is Strong in the Real Way, sung by Pearl and Steven, aka their actual voice actors. But it's just such a good song, and it's really, really well done. The other track of the episode is the music playing when Sugilite returns, and the whole fight sequence with her and Pearl. Just, it sounds like video game, in particular RPG boss music, and especially from, again, like I mentioned this in the previous episode, but Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, PlayStation, like that era kind of music. That's the way it sounded to me. But then again, I'm old. I'm 31. Yay. But yeah, so that's my personal favorite track of the episode, alongside Strong in the Real Way. Let me know what your own may be if you have any differing opinions. As for a quote of the episode, my absolute favorite, a close second, was at the very end after they get separated and Pearl is just like, yeah, let's go on a mission! And Garnet tells Amethyst, take it like a gem, because, you know, she says they deserve it for what they did. Which, that was not out of character for Garnet. So again, this is why it bothers me, that the annoyance about... Anyway, you know what my annoyance is. But moving on from there, my actual quote of the episode is when Steven is talking to the others about getting in shape and, you know, trying to work out. And he's talking to Sadie and Lars, and he says, and you could beat up Lars, and you don't have to starve to death if Sadie divorces you. Which immediately gets the reaction from Lars, like, we're not married! But it's that just increases, like, a feeling I had previously. I don't remember what episode it was, but they definitely do seem to have this kind of couple vibe about them. It seems that way. They may not be actually dating, but the way they act around each other, and especially the way Sadie reacts to some of the things that Lars does, makes it seem like they're a couple. Just my own interpretation, at least. And obviously Steven's. So I guess that's implied. But moving on from there, my question of the episode, the first of two, which hopefully I will remember the other one. But my first question is, can fused gems forget who they are? And that question comes about because of how Pearl says that they've been fused too long, and they're losing themselves. So, again, and this may not be a question that's ever actually answered, but if two gems fuse and they stay that way for too long, do they actually lose their own identities? Can they actually forget who they are? I find that really intriguing. Which goes along with the, you know, they have to be in sync in order to fuse, which is why Amethyst and Pearl had issues in their episode where they formed Opal. But yeah, if they stay fused and in sync too long, could they actually just completely forget who they are, divided? I don't know. That question in particular seems really interesting to me. Now, my second question... I do remember what my second question is. And it's this. It took a massive blow to separate Amethyst and Garnet, to basically defeat Sugilite. But, as was revealed in the episode where Pearl dies, so to speak, or Steven the Sword Fighter, that a damaged gem will retreat into their gem and heal themselves, or recover, basically. So, if that's the case, especially considering how much damage I can only assume that weapon caused to Amethyst and Garnet, why... And as much as they hurt afterward, maybe it literally was just a headache, as Amethyst said, but it seems like after that kind of blow, that they might need to retreat. So are there different rules in play when a fused gem gets damaged versus a singular gem like Pearl getting damaged? Or do the rules just work differently that way, or what? Again, just really, really interested to see if that might be answered at all. But moving on, don't have any theories for this episode, although I guess my questions might kind of count as theories, whatever. But as for my overall thoughts on this episode, it's not an immediately just like, whoa, that was so entertaining kind of liking it, but this was a strong episode in my opinion. Other than my annoyance with Garnet. And again, that may just me being misguided and not completely understanding a character, but it felt more complex in a way than some of the more recent episodes. Or maybe that's not the right way of putting it. Basically, I liked the episode. It feels like it has some strengths above some of the other more recent episodes, but at the same time, for me at least, it still also had a weakness that I noticed, but when I didn't see any in the some of the more recent episodes. But again, those are just my thoughts. Please do let me know some of your thoughts about this episode in the comments down below. Some of your favorite parts, least favorite parts, favorite tracks, so on and so forth. And, well, I'll just end it there. Until next time, everyone, for Joking Victim, which sounds like choking victim? I don't know, but... but yes, until next time for Joking Victim, everyone, I'm PapaKenn, and I'll see you next time.